If you're planning to fly anytime soon, you need to stop what you're doing and watch this. The rules for air travel have changed, and some of the most common things you pack are now getting banned. We're talking about 13 everyday items, many of which are probably in your bag right now, that could get you in serious trouble with airport security. I'm not just going to show you what's banned. I'm going to reveal the real, and sometimes terrifying, reasons why these items are now seen as a major fire risk at 35,000 feet. More importantly, I'll give you the official workarounds that can still let you fly with some of them legally. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to leave at home, what to shift to your carry-on, and how to pack smarter for every single flight you take so you can avoid the nightmare of having your stuff confiscated at the security gate. Picture this. You're halfway through your flight, your phone is about to die, so you pull out your trusty power bank and plug it in. Seems harmless, right? Well, that simple move might now be illegal. Airlines like Southwest are leading a massive crackdown on how you use power banks in the air. As of May 2025, they've banned charging your devices if the power bank is hidden away in a backpack or seat pocket. And they're not alone. The reason is simple, and it's a bit chilling. They want the cabin crew to be able to see your power bank, just in case it decides to spontaneously combust. Sound dramatic? It's not. In 2024, the FAA recorded 89 separate incidents of lithium batteries overheating on planes. Think about that. That's nearly 2 flights every single week dealing with a potential fire. This is a problem called thermal runaway, and it's a 16% jump from the year before. When a lithium battery goes into thermal runaway, it doesn't just get hot. It can explode into a ball of fire that's incredibly difficult to put out at 30,000 feet. So, what does this mean for you? It all comes down to the magic numbers printed on your power bank, the watt-hour rating. 100 watt-hours or less? You're golden. You can bring it in your carry-on, no questions asked. Between 101 and 160 watt-hours? You're in a gray area. You need to get permission from the airline before you fly, and you're usually limited to just 2 of them. Anything over 160 watt-hours? Don't even think about it. It will be confiscated on the spot. No exceptions, no excuses. And the new in-flight rule is crucial. If you're charging something, the power bank has to be out in the open, where the crew can see it. No more tucking it into the seat pocket or letting it get buried in your bag. They need to be able to spot the first wisp of smoke. And trust me, these aren't just suggestions. Getting caught breaking these rules can lead to confiscation, and of course, losing your expensive power bank for good. So before you pack, check the watt hours, keep it in your carry-on, and charge it out in the open. Alright, let's talk about that cordless curling iron or straightener you tossed in your checked bag. It might seem innocent, but airlines are now treating these hair tools like they're hazardous materials. This is where it gets tricky because there are 3 different kinds of cordless tools, and each one has its own set of confusing rules. First, you've got the butane-powered tools. These are an absolute no-go for checked luggage. That little flammable gas cartridge is a huge red flag. You can bring one of these in your carry-on, but it has to have a safety cap on the heating element, and you are not allowed to bring any spare butane cartridges. If a TSA agent sees a refill, they will take it. Period. Next up are the lithium-ion-powered tools. These are the most common ones, and they fall under the same strict battery rules as power banks. You can bring them in your carry-on without any issues. But if you want to put one in your checked bag, you have to physically remove the battery and bring the battery itself into the cabin with you. This can be a total logistical nightmare, especially if you're trying to pack light. It all comes down to that same fear. They don't want your curling iron catching fire in the belly of the plane where no one can see it until it's too late. Finally, there's the simple solution: traditional corded hair tools. These have 0 restrictions. You can pack them in your carry-on or your checked bag without a second thought. So, the pro tip here is simple. To avoid the hassle of taking batteries apart at the check-in counter, either pack your cordless tools in your carry-on or just switch to a classic corded version for travel. It'll save you a huge headache. This next one is a trap that catches thousands of smart, tech-savvy travelers. You bought some cheap replacement batteries online for your camera or your drone. They work perfectly, but you notice there's no watt-hour rating printed on them. That tiny missing label just made your batteries completely illegal to fly with. The FAA is crystal clear on this. Every single lithium battery has to have its watt-hour rating visible. But here's the problem. A lot of generic third-party manufacturers on sites like Amazon or eBay skip this step to save a few cents. This leaves you with a battery that's perfectly safe and functional, but will get you flagged at security. TSA agents are trained to look for these labels. If they can't find a watt-hour rating, they are required to confiscate the battery. It doesn't matter how small it is or if you swear it's under the 100 watt-hour limit. If they can't verify it, it's gone. There are no appeals at the gate. Spare batteries for cameras, vapes, and power tools are the biggest victims of this rule. Imagine you're in the security line and they pull your bag aside. Suddenly, you're that person holding up the line while an agent inspects every single battery you own, checking for markings. It can add a ton of stress and delay to your trip, all because of a missing label. The fix? Only buy batteries from reputable name-brand manufacturers like Canon, Sony, or Anker. They almost always have the correct labels. And here's a pro tip. Take a picture of the watt-hour rating on your batteries with your phone before you travel. That way, if the label is scratched or hard to read, you have backup proof. Remember when smart luggage was supposed to be the future of travel? With built-in GPS trackers and USB chargers, it seemed like a brilliant idea. Instead, it's turned into a regulatory mess that's causing chaos for travelers. Today, nearly all major US airlines have banned smart luggage if it has a non-removable lithium-ion battery. This is a blanket ban, whether you're trying to check it or carry it on. And this is where it gets incredibly confusing. The specific rules can change depending on who you fly with. American Airlines says you have to remove the battery from any smart bag you check. Delta will let you bring it as a carry-on with the battery installed. But if you have to check it, the battery has to come out. United just flat out prohibits any smart luggage with the battery still inside from going into the cargo hold. This patchwork of policies means your bag could be perfectly legal on your flight out, but get banned on your flight home with a different airline. And here's where this becomes a real nightmare: the gate check scenario. Imagine your flight is full, the overhead bins are packed, and the gate agent says you have to check your carry-on. If it's a smart bag, you are now that person on the jet bridge, frantically trying to figure out how to rip the battery out while a line of impatient passengers waits behind you. Some of these integrated batteries are expensive and difficult to remove, making it a stressful and potentially costly problem. The lesson is clear. If you're going to buy smart luggage, only get a model with a battery that pops out easily. Otherwise, you're better off skipping the smart features altogether to avoid a major travel day disaster. Your drone itself will probably sail through security without an issue. The TSA is more worried about the high-powered batteries that bring it to life. These batteries are subject to some of the most intense rules in aviation. First and foremost, spare drone batteries are absolutely forbidden in checked luggage. And if you pack your drone in a checked bag, you must remove the battery from the drone and carry that battery with you in the cabin. This rule catches a lot of people off guard, especially when they're forced to gate check a bag that has their drone inside. The same watt-hour rules we talked about for power banks apply here, but with even more scrutiny. Up to 100 watt-hours is fine. 101 to 160 watt-hours requires pre-approval from the airline, and you can only bring 2 spares. Over 160 watt-hours is strictly banned. But there's another layer of rules here. The battery terminals must be protected to prevent a short circuit. This means keeping them in their original packaging, putting them in a special LiPo-safe bag, or even just putting a piece of tape over the metal contacts. If a TSA agent sees loose drone batteries rattling around in your backpack, they will be confiscated immediately because those exposed terminals could easily spark and cause a fire. Airlines also recommend you discharge your drone batteries to a storage level of around 30 to 50% before you fly. A fully charged battery is more volatile and has a higher risk of thermal runaway if it gets damaged. So, before you travel with your drone, triple-check the watt-hours, pack all batteries in your carry-on with the terminals protected, and discharge them to a safe level. From high-tech gadgets, we're now moving to something you'd never expect to cause a problem: everyday powders. That big container of protein powder or baby powder you packed in your carry-on could cause a major delay. Since 2018, any powder-like substance in a container larger than 12 ounces, or about the size of a can of soda, is subject to extra screening. Here's how it works. The TSA officer will pull your bag aside and manually inspect the container. They might swab it for explosives or run other tests. But here is the critical part. If the officer cannot definitively figure out what the powder is, they have the authority to ban it from the cabin. They can just throw it away right there. There are no second chances to go back and put it in your checked luggage. The decision made at the checkpoint is final. This rule isn't just for protein powder. It applies to coffee, spices, baking flour, and even some makeup. And the rule is enforced most strictly on international flights coming into the United States. It's all part of an anti-terrorism measure designed to stop powder-based explosives. This extra screening can take several minutes per bag, which can feel like an eternity if you have a tight connection to catch. The solution is simple. If you have a large container of any kind of powder, pack it in your checked luggage. If you absolutely must have it in your carry-on, transfer it into smaller containers that are each under the 12-ounce limit. You made a delicious sandwich for the flight and wrapped it in aluminum foil to keep it fresh. That seems smart, but you just accidentally made your food completely invisible to the airport's X-ray machine. Aluminum foil is so dense that it blocks X-rays entirely. When your bag goes through the scanner, all the operator sees is a big, opaque blob. They have no idea what's inside. Is it a sandwich, or is it something dangerous? They have to assume the worst. This means that every single item you wrap in foil will be pulled for a manual inspection. A TSA agent will have to unwrap your carefully packed meal with their gloved hands, potentially squishing it and exposing it to the airport air. Homemade food already gets extra scrutiny because, unlike a store-bought item with a label, the agents have no way of knowing what the ingredients are. When you combine homemade food with foil wrapping, you've created a double whammy that guarantees a delay at security for you and everyone in line behind you. The easy fix? Use clear plastic containers or transparent Ziploc bags for your homemade food. And try to pack things in simple, flat layers. It'll help the X-ray operator see exactly what you've got and get you through the line much faster. This is a rule that trips up a lot of people. A regular disposable Bic lighter or a Zippo. You can bring one of those in your carry-on. But that windproof torch lighter you love? That's considered a forbidden item. The TSA makes a huge distinction based on the type of flame a lighter produces. And they don't care if your torch lighter was cheap or a high-end expensive gift. Torch lighters, the ones with a powerful blue jet flame, are completely banned from both carry-on and checked bags. The reason goes beyond just being a simple fire hazard. The TSA describes the flame as a thin, needle-like flame that is hotter than a normal lighter, reaching up to 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. They see that intense, focused heat not just as a fire risk, but as a potential weapon that could be used to melt or tamper with parts of the aircraft. Think of it this way. A normal lighter is like a candle. A torch lighter is like a mini blowtorch. Once you see it that way, the ban makes a lot more sense. This ban also applies to electronic arc lighters or plasma lighters that mimic a torch flame. So if you need a lighter when you travel, stick to a standard disposable one. Leave the torch at home, or you'll be leaving it with the TSA for good. Now this one feels a little weird. You can bring aerosol hairspray or deodorant in your carry-on, as long as it follows the 3-1-1 liquids rule. But a can of aerosol cooking spray, like Pam, is totally banned from the plane. You can't put it in your carry-on, and you can't put it in your checked bag either. The danger isn't the cooking oil itself, it's the flammable propellant chemicals used to get it out of the can. The FAA has specific exemptions that allow aerosols for medicinal and toiletry purposes. But cooking spray is considered a household item, so it doesn't get that exemption. It's put in the same high-risk category as spray paint or WD-40. The logic is all about preventing a catastrophic fire in the cargo hold. While a small can of hairspray is seen as a manageable risk in the cabin, they don't want any unnecessary flammable aerosols in the pressurized cargo area, where a fire could go undetected. The ban is absolute, regardless of the size of the can. So, if you're renting a vacation home and need cooking spray, plan on buying it when you get to your destination. Or, better yet, travel with a non-aerosol oil mister, which is just a pump bottle and is perfectly legal to fly with. For anyone traveling during the holidays, this one is a huge surprise. Those festive English Christmas crackers that you pull apart at the dinner table are strictly prohibited on all flights to, from, or within the United States. That satisfying pop they make comes from a tiny, chemically treated paper strip inside called a cracker snap. The TSA classifies that little strip as a flammable and explosive material. They treat it with the same seriousness as fireworks or sparklers. To them, it's a pyrotechnic device, and it has no place on an airplane. Now, this is where it gets incredibly confusing for international travelers. The rules are a total mess and change from airline to airline. British Airways? You can check 2 boxes. EasyJet? You can bring them in your carry-on or checked bag. Air France, KLM, or Emirates? They're completely banned, just like in the US. This patchwork of rules can ruin your holiday plans if you're not careful. You could fly from London to Paris with your crackers legally, but if you have a connecting flight to the US, they will be confiscated. The lesson here is to always research the specific airline and country regulations before you pack any cultural or holiday items. When in doubt, ship them to your destination separately. This one seems to defy logic until you understand how the TSA thinks. A hard block of cheddar cheese? You can bring as much as you want. But that delicious, creamy wheel of brie or a tub of cream cheese? That is considered a liquid. Yes, you heard that right. The TSA's rule is simple. If you can spread it, it's a liquid. That brie might look like a solid block on your cheese board, but to an X-ray machine and a TSA agent, it's a gel-like substance that could be used to conceal things. A solid block of Parmesan cheese shows up clearly on the scanner, but a soft goat cheese can create blind spots. This spreadable rule doesn't just apply to cheese. It also applies to things like peanut butter, hummus, and even thick dips. If you want to bring these in your carry-on, they must be in containers that are 3.4 ounces, or 100 milliliters, or less, and they all have to fit in your single quart-sized liquids bag. So, if you're planning on bringing back some fancy European cheese, stick to the hard stuff like Parmesan or Gouda for your carry-on. Any of the soft, creamy, delicious stuff should go in your checked luggage to avoid any issues. Okay, this is a big one that a lot of travelers get wrong, and it causes unnecessary stress. Everyone knows about the 3-1-1 rule for liquids, but there is a massive exception for medically necessary liquids, gels, and aerosols. You actually can bring liquids in containers larger than 3.4 ounces if they are for medical purposes. This includes prescription medications, over-the-counter drugs like cough syrup, contact lens solution, and even juice or gel packs for diabetic travelers. But you have to follow the procedure perfectly. You must declare these items to the TSA officers when you get to the checkpoint. Don't wait for them to find it. You must take them out of your bag for separate screening. Do not put them in your normal toiletry bag with your shampoo. This declaration will trigger an additional inspection. They may need to open the container, test a small amount of the liquid, or swab the outside. The key is to be upfront about it. If you try to hide it and they find it, it will almost certainly be confiscated. This exemption also covers related supplies like syringes, insulin pumps, and even freezer packs needed to keep medication cool. It's okay if they are partially melted. The rule is that you can bring a reasonable quantity for your trip, so a 2-week vacation would justify bringing more than a weekend getaway. To make the process smoother, keep medications in their original labeled containers and consider bringing a doctor's note, especially for international travel. Finally, we have to talk about the one device that changed the rules for everyone. Back in 2016, the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 smartphone was recalled after dozens of reports of its lithium-ion battery catching fire. On October 15th of that year, the FAA took an unprecedented step and issued an emergency order completely banning the device from all aircraft. It was classified as a forbidden hazardous material, making it the first and only phone to ever receive that designation. You could get hefty fines for trying to bring one on a plane. This wasn't just a recall. It was the moment that airlines and regulators worldwide woke up to the fact that the tiny batteries we carry in our pockets could pose a catastrophic threat to air safety. The Note 7 is the ghost that still haunts every single battery rule we've talked about today. It's the reason why the rules on power banks, hair tools, and drones are so strict. Even today, years later, airline crews are still trained to identify a Galaxy Note 7. It serves as the ultimate case study for how a regular consumer product can become a serious aviation hazard overnight. Understanding the story of the Note 7 helps explain the logic behind this new, stricter era of air travel safety. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? It's that the so-called friendly skies are getting a lot more serious about the risk of fire. Every single ban and restriction we've covered today traces back to one core principle: preventing a fire from starting or spreading on an aircraft mid-flight. As our gadgets get more powerful and our batteries store more energy, these rules are only going to get stricter. The cost of not knowing the rules is high, from losing your expensive property to facing massive fines. So, before your next trip, do a quick audit of your packing list. Check your batteries, rethink your snacks, and make sure you're not accidentally carrying a forbidden item. If this video helped you, be sure to subscribe for more travel updates that can save you time, money, and a whole lot of stress at the airport. Remember, in today's world, the safest traveler is the most informed traveler. Fly safe.